Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. I am Dr. Girish Panwari. I'm a psychiatrist at Kamali Clinic in Dubai. It is registered with the Dubai Healthcare Authority and it has a multidisciplinary team of mental health professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, speech therapists, occupational therapists, and ABA therapists. Today, I'm going to speak about something that is very commonly affecting all of us. Uh, it's about stress in the times of the pandemic that we are living in. Uh, well, it's very normal to be stressed. All of us have anxiety for one reason or the other. It's natural, it's normal. In fact, it's abnormal if you're not feeling stressed and anxious. To an extent, it's okay. There's no problem with getting worried about what's going on. Of course, it's an unprecedented crisis that all of us are going through. It has affected all of us in one way or the other. Some people might have been more affected than the rest of us, but at a certain level, each one of us is feeling the heat, is getting affected in a slight way or in a major way, and stress as a part of it is only natural. Of course, we are working from home, we are confined at home. We are into each other's face all the time. We are trying to maintain the social distancing. We cannot go out to malls, beaches as normally as we all used to go. And so it's a life that we did not imagine that we would be living and we are forced to live. And of course, that is something that we were not prepared for before all of this happened. Suddenly, all the plans have gone haywire. Your finances, possibly whatever your plans were, have gone haywire. Salaries are being cut, jobs are being lost, life plans are being changed. And it only is obvious then that all of us feel the stress. Uh, Anxiety, depression, stress, these are all the mental health effects of living in such a time where we need to deal with the situation for which we were never prepared. And just keep getting these inquiries for people who are feeling overwhelmed, not knowing how to handle it. Like I said, that we were never prepared for it, and so a lot of us are just in the middle of the storm, not knowing how to cope with it. And obviously, people around us are also in the same mess. Whether you go to your family, whether you go to your friends, whether you talk to your work colleagues, you just hear the same things. What does not help is the news that we feed on. All these TV channels, newspapers, constantly being fed with news of how corona is affecting the lives of people. We're not just living with the scare of, oh, what if I get the virus and what if I infect one of my family members, but the indirect repercussions of the coronavirus infection, it has affected all aspects of our lives, and we're feeling the heat. Uh, yeah, sleep is affected, your eating habits are affected, your work-life balance is completely off the hook, and and of course, again, it leads to stress. We can handle it. Sometimes it becomes too much. We don't know what to do. And we just look around seeking help, but we don't know what's the right way to help ourselves. Uh, there's a lot of advice that you can read around. Go online, you speak to people, and there's a lot of advice about how to help yourself, but we don't know what's right. We don't know if the advice that's been given would apply correctly to us or not. And so it leads to confusion, it leads to a lot of not knowing how to handle the situation, how to support people around you who are affected, how to deal with your parents who might be at an age where they're more susceptible, more vulnerable, and so you're more worried about their health, how to take care of your children who may have a lot of questions to ask, who may be impacted because they're sitting at home. They are into this new normal for them, which is e-learning. Of course, they're most children of this generation, they're very good with gadgets. They're very used to the electronic modes of communication, but not going to school for so long and sitting at home, trying to spend time on gadgets, going to the internet, not just for their studies, but for all the other things like gaming, like social media, interacting with their friends because they can't go out and meet their friends, and so most of the interactions are through the internet now. So all of it just leads to a lot of stress. Reasons could be different, as I said, but stress is there all around. And I have someone from the Medcare team today.
Hi, doctor. How are you?
Hi.
Thank you for the lovely talk today about mental health. I think a lot of us, like, we were thinking about this and feeling the pandemic about the coronavirus. So, one of the questions is, doctor, that how do we know or define ourselves that we need to see a psychologist? How would we know?
Right.
What is maybe the symptoms that we feel at home?
Right. So, like I was just speaking before, that stress is inevitable. It is normal. All of us are feeling it at some level or the other. And it's mostly manageable. We've had stressful situations in life before, whether it's taking a test, appearing for a job interview, seeing a loved one suffer from something that you're not expecting. So it's not as if we've not seen and handled stress before, but like I said, this is unprecedented. So when you think that it's manageable, it's some worrying thoughts that last for some time, and then you can come out of it. You employ your coping strategies. You speak to someone and you feel relaxed, or you indulge in hobbies and you feel that it just reduces the amount of stress that you have. So as long as you're able to cope well with it, with whatever things that help you, uh, it's okay. You don't need to see a psychologist then. But when it reaches to a point where you're constantly just thinking about this, where you're too worried, when it reaches to a point where you are indulging in unhealthy coping strategies such as drinking, or smoking, or you see a lot of anger coming out, it's leading to conflicts, you're not able to focus on work, that's when you know that it's reached to a point where it's crossed the threshold of your tolerance, and you definitely need professional help at that time. And it's a good idea to then see a psychologist and let the psychologist tell you if you can be good by yourself or would you need professional help.
At that time, that you will go and seek for help.
That's right.
Doctor, so when we are sitting at home and we are also seeing the numbers that it's increasing at the same time about the corona these days, this will give people fear, kind of that we are not going maybe directly to heal or open more. So the fear that it's inside us, would that be counted as a stress in the mental health? Like, this is stress, this is something that you need to see psychiatrist, or no?
All right. So, like I said, fear is something that is very obvious in these times. It's all related to the uncertainty of what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen in a month from now.
Correct.
Would the world just adjust to the new normal? Would things be back into place like they were in the pre-pandemic times? We don't know where it is all leading to. And when you have to deal with uncertainty, it always leads to fear. It always leads to stress and anxiety. Like I said when I was answering your previous question, when it is something that you can still manage with, it does not affect your day-to-day functioning in a major way. You're still able to cope with life and the responsibilities that you have. If you're able to carry out your responsibilities well, well, some amount of fear is only natural and normal. But when it just overpowers you, when it makes you dysfunctional, when it leads to you not being able to handle it, when it starts reflecting as changes in your behavior, when you're socially withdrawn, when you're jittery, on edge all the time, when you start losing sleep, you're not eating well, or you're overeating.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you actually about, you might get obese and overeat because of the situation sometimes that you're stressed but you're eating more.
Right.
Is that to cover the stress? Is that something that also from the fear that we have, or is it stress?
Well, I think it's a combination of emotional eating when we are stressed, when we are afraid, when we are nervous. It's a common coping mechanism for people to just overeat, to seek comfort in food.
In food.
So it's called emotional eating. So that's one aspect of it. But the second aspect of it is that we are at home all the time. We are bored. We don't have much to do, and a lot of this eating is just coming out of boredom. So boredom eating combined with emotional eating, of course, it's leading to people gaining weight, becoming obese, and all the health risks associated with it.
Such as smoking, some people, some
Definitely.
people will be going for drinking. So, doctor, from the scenario that, how can you advise a little bit that all of the people through this pandemic, that how can this help them to avoid doing that? If they feel that they're eating a lot, what can they do? If they feel that they're smoking a lot, what can they do, or drinking? What's the best kind of solution to do?
Okay, so the first step of dealing with the problem is to know that there is a problem. So you need to be mindful of what's going on with you,
Yeah.
that you're overeating, that you're smoking more than you used to, that you're drinking in an unhealthy manner. You're not drinking for the pleasure of it, but you're just drinking to cope with the anxiety and the stress that the situation has got you into. So the first step is to just get more awareness about what's going on with you. Just take a look at how you're dealing with the stress. So once you know that the way you're coping with it is unhealthy, it's abnormal, that's when you seek help with the professional, or you can do it by yourself. You can just be more mindful with how are you living your life. Are you sleeping on time? Are you waking up on time? Are you able to manage these boundaries between work and home, your personal life, I mean? So when you're working from home, these boundaries become very seamless. The work, personal life, they just intermingle with each other, and you don't know when to stop. I just was speaking to someone last night, and he told me that he was answering emails at 12 in the night when he should actually have been sleeping. So routines are on for a toss. So I think the right way to deal with it is for all of us to take stock of how we're dealing with the situation. Have the eating patterns dramatically changed? Have the sleeping patterns dramatically changed? Just have a look, sit down, think about it, and stop if you think that things are leading to an abnormal point.
Yeah. So, doctor, maybe, but in here there is another question is that maybe people at that point or at this time right now, because Ramadan came, there is a lots of change for them as well, which is previously they were visiting families, seeing each other, having iftar with each other. These days they're sitting at home and their routine is whole changed because of that. That's why the disturbance of sleep also because of Ramadan. Is that something that might happen right now?
Definitely. So it's like a double whammy. So you are living in the pandemic times, and then there's Ramadan. Ramadan in itself, even before the pandemic, if you remember, of the Ramadans the
Yeah.
previous year or the year before that, it just changes your routine. Your work times differ. The time that you sleep differs. The time that you eat, your eating patterns, everything just changes during this 1 month. A lot of people give up on smoking and drinking, I know,
In
during the month of
Ramadan, yes.
Ramadan. Yeah, and so now you're stressed where you would have normally coped by drinking or smoking more, and then it's Ramadan, so you can't do that. And so you try to cope with methods that you're not used to. So, and of course, like you just mentioned, that you can't go and meet your loved ones, you can't go and indulge socially with your families. Of course, we have the digital platforms, you have the video calls that keep you connected with your loved ones, but you can't replace it with the real life interactions of just greeting your loved one, shaking hands, embracing.
Correct.
Yeah, so all of that is not there. And of course, we are humans, we are social animals, we crave for social interaction, and we are forced to live in times where we need to isolate ourselves. As much as you think that the video calls could be a substitute for real life interactions, they're not. I know it, and you know it, and all of us are
Yeah.
realizing it now. That initially we thought that, oh, okay, this is the new normal. Uh, you just meet a person really or virtually. How does it matter? The thing is to meet the person. But now, as we are doing it more and more because of how the situation expects us to be, we realize that these video calls are not a substitute for real life
Yes.
interactions. And it is in itself very stressful to not be able to meet your friends, your families for so long, especially in times of
Correct.
festivities such as Ramadan.
Doctor, I might be having a small question here that the elderly, which is our parents, they kind of like uh, they always wants to see us. You understand that the father always wants to see the kids and the mom, but however, we try to avoid because of the situation right now to see them because you don't know what's happening with you. You might be infected, but you're not. However, the parents, they're old and you don't want to infect them in case.
Right.
But for them, they don't want, like, we need to live with it, but we want to see you. So how can we avoid or kind of give them an advice for the elderly, especially that uh, they shouldn't be interacting with their families as much as possible because it might affect them?
Right. So, taking forward from the previous question that you asked of how to interact socially when we have to maintain the social distancing uh, guidelines. So, and I think it's important for all of us to acknowledge that safety comes first.
Correct.
Right. So, I think we need to sit down with our elderly family members just to explain to them, and of course, it can happen on or over a video call.
Video call, yes.
The disadvantage could be that they're not very used to technology. So you need to just empower them for basic skills, basic tools, just to
Teach them how to
just
interact.
teach them how to start a video call or answer a video call, so that even if they can't understand how to initiate or make a video call, they can at least answer when you're trying to reach them. So I think that basic education for them to stay connected to the family members, even if it's not physically but virtually over video, spend time with them, talk to them, understand what their anxieties are, what is it that their perception is. I think the elderly population just needs a ear. They just need to be heard. So allow them that safe space where they can express, where they can just speak about whatever their anxiety is. And unless you don't know what their anxiety is, how are you going to help them? So just allow people to talk, and especially this generation, where they're not very used to the virtual media.
Yeah.
So just
None of
make
us.
them more used to.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. None of
Yeah.
us. Doctor, a question came to us right now is that how can you explain the whole situation for children and make it easy or to, to make it not, they're not gonna fear from it somehow? So how can we explain it? What's the advice for you to speak to the children? How can we explain for them the situation?
Children, they're very curious. They just want to ask you a lot of questions,
True.
and they're very exposed to media of what they read, the feed that they get, the forwarded messages that they receive. They're not untouched by that, and how much can you protect them from that? They're very exposed. They go online, they read material, and obviously they have a lot of questions. A lot of the things that they gather could be just misinformation. So it's your responsibility to help them understand the reality the way it is. So try to put forward facts as much as you know. If you don't have an answer for a question that they have, just say that we don't know. Nobody knows the answer. For example, if they ask you when is this going to end, I don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. So you don't just fool them by saying that in 3 weeks it would be okay, or 4 weeks it would be okay. Just be as true to reality as possible. Answer all their questions with based on true facts, and of course, you need to stoop down on a mental level that they have. You can't treat them as mini adults. You need to speak at their level of understanding, simplify things for them, but tell them, inform them, empower them with the correct information as much as possible. Also, keep a watch on what are they feeding on in terms of information, what are the sources of information. So constantly engage with them, the way they feel the pressure from the situation, not going to school, not being able to meet friends, not going out on
outside
weekends,
playing.
not going out on weekends, what they were used to, going to the malls, enjoying the movie,
True.
dining out. So all of that has changed. So of course they deal with these situations in their own ways. So again, like I said, for the elderly, children need to be heard as well. Allow them that safe space to express themselves. Don't be in a rush to load them with the right information. Just understand how they are looking at things, what their fears are. Try to address them as much as you can without being emotionally charged.
All right. This is general for children.
Yeah.
So, doctor, that how can we make it easier? Because would children get more stressed out if because usually they were going out, but right now they are not. So that stress and that activity and power that they have, they might take it on the families, let's say, during this situation, and they are on lockdown, staying at home. So is there a possibility or some way to engage with the children and make them calm down through channels or activities to help more the families?
Definitely. I think that is what all parents need to do, find other options to engage children, because a lot of the other, like what they were doing before the pandemic happened, is not there. That's not a choice that they have. So they need to be employed constructively in activities. Just find out what their hobbies are, if it's drawing, if it's any other skill or craft that they would want to engage in. It could be dancing, it could be anything else that the child likes. Just identify that, focus on that, be a good support by their side so that they're able to do it, indulge in it from the right sources. So of course encourage all those activities just to keep them busy, just for them to not feel bored,
Board,
just
yes.
for them to not miss what they were doing before all of this started.
Okay. Thank you, doctor, for this. Regarding now the couples, the married couples, when they are staying at home, uh, they're not used to stay at home for that long with each other, even that they're working, but seeing each other most of the time. It might encourage or might have some kind of, uh, let's say, stressful situations.
Right.
And like, how can they avoid it and be normal with each other without being stressed and maybe have some kind of an arguments all the time and these things? This thing I think also happens right now recently.
Definitely.
And what is the best solution at that?
Okay, so there's not a single solution that would help all couples. Different couples have different conflicts and different ways that they rub each other the wrong way. So
Sure.
one advice would not help everyone. But of course, it's for the first time in a long time. I think that they would be seeing each other for that long. Uh, most women also work now, so it's not as if the man and the woman are stuck together for so long all
Yeah.
the time. Thankfully, the complete lockdown has been eased now, so you do get this chance to step out of the house, because you need to maintain all the precautions that the government has enforced, just
Yes.
has laid down. You need to, of course, maintain the distancing, wear the mask all the time, the sanitation that needs to be followed, but then take this chance to go out so that you reduce the face time. You're not face to face, you're not into each other all the time, because that's going to lead to conflict, not just for a couple but for any two persons living together, and it has got nothing to do with the emotional connect between the two people. So these are two different personalities, and of course they're going to clash, right? So yeah, so I think the one valid advice that would apply to all couples is to reduce the face time. Just have this time out from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
it's
kind
much.
of right now because it's a little bit opened, but previously when it was in lockdown, it was not possible.
Yeah.
So maybe it's kind of some actually married couple, which I know as well, like they came closer to each other. It's not always the
Yeah.
other scenario, which is they're
Yeah.
gonna clash. Some of them they came closer to each other,
Right.
understand more. But how can they, let's say, all the family members, doctor, encourage each other during this pandemic because it's stressful? So one of them might feel down all the time, and you need to encourage them. So if you can give us an advice on all of them, about children, about families, how can they encourage each other? Because at the end, this is the only support that we have. Yes, through maybe channels of Zoom or Teams, which is we can speak to another families or outside, but the encourage thing is that how to do it is maybe mainly something that a lot of families missing it.
Right.
So if you can give us some advice about that.
Sure. Like I said for the previous question, different families may have different needs and different people would have different needs. But if I have to speak in more generic terms,
Yes, please.
of course, this is a difficult time. And when you are in the middle of adversity, it just exposes your vulnerabilities. So all of us are humans. We have our flaws. We have a side of ours that's not perfect. And because we are living with each other, it just comes out, and we get to see the abnormal aspects or the
Yeah.
not so normal aspects of each other more easily than we would have. So I think this is a time for us to acknowledge that you're dealing with humans, you're not dealing with perfect beings, right? So just acknowledge that there could be flaws. This is a time to soul search. This is a time to just look within. Do as much as you can. This is the time where you can change the dynamics of the relationship. Before the pandemic happened, a lot of people used to complain that they can't get their work-life balance right. They're
Yeah.
just spending too much at work. They don't get to spend enough
See.
time with the family. So this is the time. And whatever you were trying to achieve before, you just get to do that now. So this is the time where you find the fault lines between the family members, the dynamics, how they were working, and just try to fill the gaps as much as possible. So you just help each other understand that, like you are stressed, someone else may be stressed, someone else may in the family may be stressed for a different reason. It may not necessarily make sense to you, but you're not trying to argue, you're not trying to counter, you're just trying to support.
Support and help.
Yes, correct. So just accept that the person is in a difficult time, and the anxiety is coming out in a different way from yourself, and so you just need to acknowledge the fact that you need to support. You don't need to question. You don't need to overhelp. You just be by the person's side, and I think that should be enough.
All right, that's enough for me. Thank you, doctor. We finished all the questions. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all the viewers who've been there live attending this session. Well, I would just want to, before I sign off, say that please maintain the safety norms, whatever the government has advised. Stay safe, stay healthy. And it was good to see you. And I need to put my mask on before I advise all of you to do that.
Yeah, it's not easy to put the mask these days.
Yeah, we're not used to
We're
this.
not used to it.
This is the new normal,
Yeah.
and we need to adjust to it. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Have a nice day ahead, and hope you all cope well with the situation.